Babu Ram for sharing his experiences from the Nepal and how the Nepal is been exercising these two things together. Babu?
Thank you, Rita. It's my pleasure to be in APrIGF, this very significant session. I was past vice chair of APrIGF. Now I'm one of vice chair of Asia Pacific School on Internet Governance. And it's been long that I've been engaged in community communications and media practice previously, and practicing lawyer in Nepal, especially in communication sector. Uh, as Ritu rightly said, in Nepal we have more than 350 community radio stations contributing significantly on freedom of expression and right to information. And Radio Sagarmatha is the oldest community radio station in South Asia, if I'm not wrong. And these radio stations have been uh, contributing significantly in democratic process and democratization of the society in Nepal, especially a bit different character from Nepalese context in community radio. Community radio basically they don't focus on news, and they are in some part of countries like in South Asia. They don't allow to disseminate news bulletins through FM radio stations. Community radio stations, but in Nepal, from very beginning, news were very significant content for community radios, and there was a Supreme Court case when previous regressive regime stopped disseminating uh, news bulletins through community radio or FM stations, especially saying FM stations are only for local issues, and news are not the content of FM stations. So Supreme Court upheld the practice and said that any restriction on news dissemination to any community radios, FM stations are violation of fundamental rights of freedom of expression that was guaranteed by the Constitution of Nepal. So from that perspective, community radio stations from Nepal have significant milestone on disseminating news, bringing local news to national and international. Now, why I'm saying national and international? From on air now, we have entered into online and now hybrid model of community radio broadcasting has started vis-a-vis through frequencies of radios and frequency of internet. I mean, digital platforms. So this is the a brief background of community radio stations in Nepal, how they have been focusing on and contributing on freedom of expression in Nepal. An important part of community radio that we experience in Nepal is promoting local content, local issues. As I referred that we have more than 350 radio stations, community radio stations, and we have a similar number of other private run FM stations. Again, they are contributing at local levels. Um, so they have contributed significantly, bringing local issues into the mainstream, bringing local enterprise, local community issues, local culture into the communication platforms. And when this internet significantly came into the existence and contributing to the all the sectors, now there are certain issues that community radio stations are facing. Previously, community radios or FMs were considered primary channel for information. Now because of the internet platforms, social media platforms, uh, people are slowly deviating from community radio stations to internet contents. So in this context, there are two major issues faced by uh, community radios. One is now audience are diverse, and how to make this community radio contribution to more interactive with the audience. And another is now it has become significant challenge from infrastructure perspective. Though internet is expanded largely, but still Nepal has, because of its geographical terrain, it has very complex internet facilities. Jin, obviously, she knows certain aspect of internet issues in Nepal, and to refer in this, still radio stations or people are facing broadband connectivity as one of major challenge. So while bringing from on air to online, it's very significant challenge for community radio stations to resource or get the connectivity. I mean, meaningful connectivity. When we see the reports of regulators, Nepal Telecommunication Authority, we have now more than 80-90% accessibility is there, but these accessibility are from various levels, but not as per the meaningful accessibility. So these are the some of issues on connectivity. And another issue that now, when moving from on air to moving to online and going on a hybrid model, there are some legal issues previously not related with FM stations. Now, when they moved into online platform as well, now various legal issues like defamation and other kind of issues are now as part of discussions. Content regulation, takedown issues, challenging from political spheres, challenging from uh, other bad actors of societies are also significant. The challenge of safety of journalists when bringing a small town issue to larger community through online. Now it has become another level of challenge when these connectivity are brought into the play of community radio stations. These are some of things that I wanted to share at the beginning. When the discussion goes, I'll share more thoughts on the process. Ritu, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Babu. And it's a really, it's the one of the major point that you have mentioned, that connectivity may have can stations, and that connectivity, when it is combined, provides a meaningful connectivity. But also there are some other issues which are turning up, like content regulations and the safety of journalists, specifically from the perspective of a local journalist, those who are bringing the voices of the very local and the marginalized communities. So that's a very prevalent, that's a very important point when we talk about the exercising the rights and exercising the freedom of expression itself. I would like to bring into this discussion Sarbani, who has around more than 10 years of an experience in working in space of a community networks, and uh, she has recently drafted a chapter for a women and how community radio stations women are exercising their freedom of expression in a through the community radio stations. She has over more than a decade of an experience while working in a community networks, and is working with she was working as the Asia Pacific regional head at a Association for Progressive Communication. Prior to that, she was working with a Gram and bringing the rural connectivity in one of the rural regions of Maharashtra in India. So I'll bring to the Sarbani, and having said that, the point that one of the major concerns that I is still which we have it when we have a community radio station and when we have a community as well as a connectivity as a marriage, how women feel and how women feel that how women are expressing their women express themselves through these localized community radio stations. And when marriage is combined with the connectivity and a CR station, what are the privacy concerns that it matters for a women to express themselves online, whether CR stations help them, or what uh, s- what strategies they do bring when the connectivity is provided by locally by a known people, and still it is a concern for women. Those are the Sarbani, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit further and also answer these questions as well from the perspective of a women and expressing themselves?
Thank you, Ritu, for inviting me to be in this session. Hello, everyone. I am Sarbani Belur, and I am the Asia Regional Coordinator for the LockNet project at APC. And this year, I'm also the fellow at ICA. ICA is an organization. It's called Institute for Social Entrepreneurships in Asia, which is based out of Philippines. And I'm happy to be a part of this session today to discuss about the role of women in the community network, in the community radio space. So my points are that very recently we worked on this aspect of how women get involved in the community radio stations, and how community radios provide a sort of a platform for women to express themselves. And in this context, we did this study with 8 women in remote community radio stations. And in these locations, there has been no connectivity. So we tried to look at how these women are working in the community radio stations and enabling information dissemination to happen within the community. So one of the things that we observed is that um, as there is no connectivity in these locations, so the utilization of the smartphone by women, radio jockeys, the 8 radio jockeys whom we interviewed, it was very surprising to see that they use the smartphone um, not in the location where in the village or the community radio station, because there is no connectivity over there. So they use the smartphone as a means for gathering more information, and they visit locations in and around the village where the mobile signals trickle in. So it could be on a hilltop, or on a location where there are no trees and it's an empty space where they can sit and they get information, they gather information. But before this process, they are actually working on focusing on understanding that where is this information, what is this information that they need to provide to the society, to the community. And in most of the cases, this is something, information gathering, that happens from the women themselves. It's an initiative by the women. So they are ideally not having any income from being a radio jockey in these community radio stations. But overall, they use the community radio stations for expressing themselves. And the reason they told is that they are not judged by anyone. So they usually, women are judged by people. So when they are in a room which is in an enclosed room, their voice is sort of speak for themselves, and people in their community recognize themselves by the voice of these women radio jockeys. So That's the type of empowerment that women feel, that they are sort of empowered through this radio station. The understanding that this is one of the aspects that they discussed about. In most of the cases, the mobile phone as a small technology, as a technology that it's often connected to internet, right? But in these locations where there is no internet connectivity, they use the mobile phone only for audio recording or clicking photographs. So if there is a public a forum that is organized within the community for discussions, they use the mobile phone only for recording these and bringing it back to the radio station and doing the editing. Um, uh, the I think the community radio stations play a very big role in empowering women in the communities. And they have a very important, the women play a very important role, because otherwise the women feel that there is no other way by which they can contribute to the community benefit and enhancement. There is a very important aspect of women of community radios being converted into community networks, because community radio stations have all the enabling factors in seeding a community network to grow. And perhaps this discussion will come up in the due course of time by the different panelists, and I will keep it for the later. Yeah, so that's from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarbani, and thank you for so much like bringing the small nuances that how being a radio jockey itself is a way of expressing for women for expressing themselves. Now, I would like to bring Mr. Muhammad Niyaz, who has been a practitioner and who has a community radio station in Odisha, rural district of in a Bhadrak district, rural part of a country of in India, where he has established his radio station, community radio station in 2017. He has been not he has been practicing the community radio media practices from the more than a decade, but also while working in a rural side of the country, how does a radio station is being exercised by local people for exercising their freedom of expression, not only, but also the what makes unique being a radio station in a community in a rural community itself. That's where the perspective of a Niyaz will be able to bring it. Niyaz, I would like to ask you that what makes unique for a CR stations to bring being in a rural side brings the uh, brings the freedom of expression, or what exactly that the help that they do for a committee for exercising their rights, how they play that role. So one of the things that which we'd like to know, and when internet is becoming so and so evident, where does the community radio stand in that discussion? Does community radio still need a connectivity, or it can work in a different models as well?
So, good morning, everyone, and good afternoon to everyone also. So, right now, I'm so thankful to Ritu that we got the chance to speak on IGF and what my colleague, other like Baburam and other what told that we are lucky to have in India that lot of community radio is now working in rural area. They're doing very good work. The Ritu mentioned here about the connectivity. So I'll mention here how we during the COVID due to internet we are also broadcasting, and as well as we are in the social media due to digitalization, and we play a lot of role during the COVID when somebody staying in Mumbai or in Delhi or in Bangalore, which is from our place it took around 1700 kilometers, it means 1,000 miles you can say. So we played role during the COVID. We play the means helpline. We had opened the things so that the people from the village here, where our radio is running, we have the some numbers you can see in our Facebook page also. On during 2021 we have done. Apart from that, yes, we need most of the radio to be connected with well. Like we are doing one things here in CR Bolo, we are doing community radio. The Bolo means the speak. We are having one Wi-Fi connection where our radio connects north and south of our area, which is around 3 miles or 3.5 miles, where the people staying, they can upload their photos, they can upload the content 1.2 minutes and maximum 3 minutes, and the video they can also upload for 3 minutes, which we played in India. We have started, this is the unique thing where our community radio can connect the society, where we have connected the means our radio station in a different places, like we have connected to one schools and another one society, where they can upload their content. We can see here by sitting in our radio station. Right now I'm sitting in our radio station. So this is the kind we have started the initiatives, as well as we are in Play Store, we are in social media, all the social media using the platform. So here, those who means here right now in live, those who are sitting, those who are listening. So I request everybody, those who thinks that the company, the digital, I'm not talking about the social media, the still the role of community radio play very vital in the rural pocket of entire world. What Baburam Bhai told in Nepal, they are also playing very means crucial things in the Nepal during disaster, natural disaster. Same year in India also, we play, it may be, when we talk about the freedom of expression, we are doing the social harmony. When we talk about the rights of the women, when we talk about the to stop the illegal child marriage. So a lot of the campaign we do, not only through the broadcasting. Now the good things we have started here, that we also do the narrowcasting. We go to the places, we target the community people where there is a need. So we we go and do the narrowcasting over there. So one of the when we talk about the connectivity community today, the subject is that the digital rights. As I worked from last with Ritu from last 2010, digital about the digitalization. Yes, I believe that everybody have the rights to get the internet, whoever it may be. The every single people have, they have the rights to take the how internet can reach, and in how internet can give their rights. Through internet they can get lot of information. Like we have the schemes in Manrega, means the government scheme where they can get involved and they can work. We had done lot of campaign in our panchayat level with the help of one of our colleague, Radio Namaskar, who had got the project from the UNICEF, through UNICEF, where we have done the promotion of how the people, village people can get the their rights, their information, their government schemes. So we aware the people through community radio. We do believe that the internet is necessary, but to reach the people, we have to give the awareness through community radio. So thank you, Ritu. If you need, we can discuss more. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Niyaz. And but I still have will be with you right now and asking you that what are the challenges still in a radio station face uh, during the time of, even if there's internet or there's no internet, and uh, and later on I would like to go to the Jane as well, that what makes CR station unique, that this marriage could happen, and this like a CR station can play a vital role in a providing the last mile connectivity. But firstly, let me ask you from what are the still challenges that CR station is facing, uh, despite the fact that while working in this kind of a situation, when you do have an internet but you can not exercise those rights is from a smaller rights as well.
Yeah, it's true that because a lot of village people, they still they don't have the means Android phone, you can say. Number one. Number two, internet. When we talk about our community radio station, internet is price is high to manage this entire things. We need the broadband and some kind of things kind of. So it's costly for the community to manage this one. So this is major challenge. And number two, to aware the people how to use. So we have to give training to the rural people.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Jane, I would like to bring to you in this conversation. Uh, why do you think that CR station can play a vital role in exercise, in not only bringing the connectivity, but also to bring the meaningful connectivity when we say it? What, and this is a common question for all of us, like when Sarbani was talking about women perspective and Babu Ram is saying about the disaster or something else, why it is important for a CR station to be that played that role.
From the meaningful connectivity perspective, and this is Jane's definition of meaningful, because I'm not going to get into the technical aspects of what that some organizations have put forward with respect to meaningful connectivity, but I would think that any community created content and any community based infrastructure is going to be some of the most meaningful because it's about that community, it's coming from that community, and it's what that community needs. But to your point, Ritu, about the big meta, in the meta sense of what meaningful is, I won't get into quality of service though. I think it really just depends on what people are hungry to have, what type of content they want. I'm from a very rural area in the United States. I'm not in a rural area right now, but radio was something that we relied on. It wasn't community radio, but it was very much friends of ours were part of a community radio station. And everyone really relied on that content. It kept the community together and it brought them different information that they didn't have in some of their daily lives. I think you were looking for some best practices. It certainly is. You've got to listen and work with your community. You can't assume that what you like is everything is something that everyone will like. It's almost like a birds of a feather group at the IETF or IGF or anywhere where you're trying to figure out what's most useful and helpful to those communities and I suppose meaningful in that context. I'll stop there because I'm sure there's some other great things that others will say, but I would just highlight that community radio can be a lifeline, of course, for many in remote communities and give them lots of information they may not be able to get if they don't have internet connectivity right away or a community network.
Yeah, thank you. I think Pradeep has a one question and which I'd like to ask openly that is this a licensing processes of a community radio station in India is relatively straightforward, but does this remain a relatively easy process or it has become a politicized or if it has, what are the consequences? Niyaz, this question I would like to ask from you. Radio stations have a straightforward licensing processes, but is it always easy as well that it becomes a more politicized, or what are the consequences that radio stations in India face as well?
No, I just saw the Pradeep Thomas. No, now it's very easy process. Now everything is online. Now earlier it took around 3 to 4 years, but now it's very easy to get within 6 to maximum by within 1 year. All things are online, so one can go easily. They can apply online. There will be no hard copy, so it's easy now. It's that's why we reaches now 370 plus community radio. It's very easy process now, and government is also trying their best to to get more community radio in our country. Every corner of the north, south, east, they do means quarterly basis the program so that people should aware and they can apply for the community. Now it's easy, Pradeep.
Does it become a politicized as well? Whether political scenarios are or consequences are there? That's the question I think Pradeep also has asked.
No political ads, no, nothing like that. So nothing like that.
Thank Pradeep, I hope this question has been answered by and any other, if you still then you can please mention it as well. Those who are participating online, please feel free to put your questions. But I will come back to Sarbani, that what are the factors, as Jane has mentioned, that and the Niyaz, both everyone is talking about, what are the factors that it enables CR stations to provide the connectivity? What exactly is the unique thing that CR stations bring? Is it a infrastructure, or is it a human resource, and or is it a local content model? So is that so important for any network as well, Sarbani? So what kind of a uniqueness would you like to say that?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing is that the human resource. Community networks or complementary connectivity initiatives, yeah, are initiatives that have we need to have the community backing, right? And it has to be a network for the people, by the people. So it has to be them. Community radios, radio stations have that first level of interaction with the community, the human resources within the community that is there, identifying, that who is a person who can maintain the network, because maintaining the network is a very big issue, right? We try to find a person who has to maintain the network, the person who is passionate about that entire network. So the community radio station enables or helps us in having a better understanding of the human resource that is available within the community. And then the community network is just setting up the infrastructure within the within that context of the community. And and then we also work on partnerships that can be enabled, sort of, it can be a public-private partnership, or a partnership with the local government, the village government. But I think the most important thing that is there is the human resource that the community radio stations enable. Um, that can make the transition from the community radio stations to a community network much easier. Um, Apart from it, I think the infrastructure availability that is already there, like a tower that is already there for the radio station, and depending on the type of network that will be enabled, that we will be putting up within the community, it is dependent on that, and you can put up some extra infrastructure. But the radio waves, of course, we cannot use, because we don't, for internet connectivity, we don't use the radio waves. It is a different, the other waves, the microwaves is used. So we don't use that, but at least the human resource, I feel the human resource is the most important aspect. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Arbani. And I would like to open up this floor for the online questions and the questions, if anyone has it. Uh,
In the room, I will be running the queue and the mic. So if there's any participants who would like to ask a question, please raise your hand. I'll give you the mic.
Hello everyone. My name is Isan. Maybe I will tell about my story. There are some application that that we make is the name is application of podcast for a rural area. There are application that giving podcast and radio and internet infrastructure, and we make it for a rural area, so the people there can keep a connect and have a good information for us in the city. And there's some challenge about that. Even in the rural area, internet is come there, and then they see something like a YouTube and another option of social media things that give image or video things. So they have a track for image and video more than the sound that we produce on podcast or a radio. And yeah, we try to giving some gamification or something like that, but that's still difficult because the people have much more fun maybe on social media or YouTube that gives them some video or some fun. Is there any solution or maybe some sharing about this story too? How can we make the radio or a podcast sound a podcast is more interesting for them, I guess. Yeah, that is my question. Thank you.
Ritu, if you would like to answer.
I think that's a, very prevalent, right question for a Niyaz as well to answer that how interesting CR stations can make it like for a podcasting to be like this way. Uh, Niyaz, would you like to answer this question?
Yeah, my friend, what he asked, yes, lot of radio now they are in social media, they're making the video. You can see our page in Radio Bulbul Facebook page. You will get it a lot of Instagram also. With that's through that also a lot of people from one province to other they connected. Those who are belongs to our place, they connected either they from anywhere, any part of world, they can connect us. So it's true now. A lot of radio they are in social media as well as what radio is broadcasting. We are in also in social media, and no doubt we do lot of short clips through video and sound. We do the clips for the awareness kind of thing. It may either when it was in during the COVID also we have done a lot of small videos during the COVID, so you can see that one. Yes, a lot of other radio that can't walk what Sarbani was telling about the human resource, but yes, a lot of people now they are connected through social media.
Is this does it answer your question, or should we bring this more perspective on it? And I can see Carlos is also sitting over there and waving the hands as well. Say hi to Carlos as well. But yes, we talk.
I can comment. Thank you. Uh, I don't know how you saw me waving my hand, but it's fine. Super nice session. Thank you very much for putting it together. A topic that we've been, wanting to know more because indeed many networks are learning from what the analog networks that the radios put together, no, and the reach on sharing those informations, those local informations with the communities from earlier. I would be curious to know a bit more about the sustainability and the business models, maybe from the participant from Radio Bulbul, or anything that you or Sarbani or Jane can say around how the transition from analog radio in the community radios to the online mode, has affected. On the one hand, you have, broader reach through the internet, but on the other hand, maybe there is not that much consumption or that much interest from potential local advertisers and the like. So wondering how that has evolved and whether any consideration of extending with other type of internet connectivity could contribute to the sustainability of the community radio altogether. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carlos, and bringing the very important point of a sustainability and talking about that how community radio stations or any network as well, bringing the sustainability model. This is an open question, and I would like ask Jane and Sarbani and Babu Ram and everyone to answer it as well, taking a bit of a moment for answering this question, and maybe later on combining this thoughts from my perspective as well. Jane and Sarbani or Babu, anyone want to volunteer for this question?
I'm happy to let Sarbani and Babu go first.
Yeah, thanks, Jane. It's very challenging. Recently, there was one South Asia Community Radio's conference in Kathmandu. I was one of panelists, and we discussed about the various issues, including sustainability as well. So sustainability has become one of major challenge, and now we are discussing about whether the relevancy of FM radio stations are still there or not, whether community radio stations are replaced by the internet broadcasting or not. This is one of major issue to be discussed these days when we talk from sustainability perspective. And lots of community radios now, they have moved their content from traditional FM to online content as well. And some of these very interesting content have generated revenue for them as well. And when the small entrepreneurs, they used to give advertisement to local FM stations, community radio stations, when these contents are available over the online, and then their business are expanded, and now they are happy to have simultaneously on both platforms, FM and the local online, their online platform as well. So this is bonus for the advertisers. An important part is in Nepal, as when we developed our political system from unitary to federal, and now we have many local level governments. They are significant on their autonomous exercise on economies. And now various local governments are tying up with local community radio stations for their affairs, and this is another opportunity to bring relationship and making sustainable radio stations. One significant aspect I wanted to highlight, the relevancy of community radio stations or FM radio stations, especially during the disaster. I recall 2015's disaster in Nepal, the big earthquake, and all the radio stations and as well as internet service providers were down that time. And with the support of Internet Society headquarters, we were able to restore the operation of community radio stations. We provided local portable power supply, power generators. Because of that, radio stations were up, and the people who were on the ground, who were homeless, they received regular updates from FM, even though they had no any other mobile or other telephone connectivity. So still the relevancy of radio stations or radio communications are very significant when disaster is there. And other platform will definitely, at least I see for a few years or decades, will not be replacing the relevancy of community radio stations in this. So when we were designing certain policies, when I was contributing to certain policies on disaster and communications, and I highlighted the importance of these radio stations contributions during disaster. So discussing from sustainability, we need to bring all these aspects, not only sharing the regular content process, rather engaging in various context like a disaster, and then coordinating with local governments or local other community organizations could be significant when we talk about the sustainability. Though there are other business models as well, but still if we focus on these kind of issues and making own relevancy more to the community, could be better approach for sustainability. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Babu. I think that's an open question still. Anyone would like to answer else as well?
Ritu, we have a person who would like to answer in the room.
Sure.
Hello, my name is Ritu and I'm a council member of Internet New Zealand. I'm also a board member of in New Zealand of a thing that we call Māori Television, and that is funded by the New Zealand government as part of a treaty claim for our Māori language. In addition to that, that was started in 2006, and we also have a treaty claim for our language that has funded a network of community radio stations for the last 35 years. So in New Zealand, we have 21 community radio stations that are specifically targeted towards the revitalisation and the saving of our language and cultural customs. And I'm sorry I missed the start of your session, but my question is really, we are finding in New Zealand that the old analogue things that our community stations are confined to, that is looked upon as the poor cousin within New Zealand, in COVID actually served our very hard to reach Māori communities. And the research that is just being made now found that our Māori communities used our community radio stations, and they were nominated and also supported as the #1 trusted source of information for our communities. So I guess what I'm really asking you and what I'm hearing is that the case among all the community radio stations that you represent? Because it is certainly the case for Māori communities, and our government is wanting us to go digitally, but they can't afford to pay for it. But our communities are finding ways to use the old analogue technology to provide information about a range of things that are assisting the health and education of Māori people.
Back to you, Ritu.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this wonderful story about the New Zealand and how New Zealand has been working in this radio, kind of a radio station. One of the things that I would still want to have from a Jane perspective, what is your perspective on this question as well? What she has asked.
Oh, it's an amazing question. And that was really great to hear about. From a financing perspective, if you're switching from analog to digital, it's a really good question. If the government can't fund all of it, there's a new way of looking at financing. It's not new, I should say. Carlos will laugh at me because we worked on this report together. I popped the link in the chat. Blended finance is a very fancy word, and I find it silly on occasion, but if you take different pots of money from different types of actors and investors, different capital, that's called blended finance. And for years, the investment community has used that in emerging markets. I think it's basically a way of saying we need to figure out a way to de-risk our investments, and we need to diversify as many different funding streams in this capital stack. Think of money stacked up from different players with different terms and ways of returning that money. Bottom line is that you can bring different groups of people together to help you, whether it's philanthropy, public-private, whether it's government and banks. There are a lot of banks who are very interested in helping local communities because they know those communities. And so back to the fancy word of blended finance and the capital stacks, it's basically finding different investors who will work with you and someone smart, like a guy named Brian VO, who works for Connect Humanity, a place I worked before. Brian knows communities. He knows how to listen and think about very clever ways to work with different people who will help capitalize what you need over a certain period of time so that it doesn't harm your community as far as if you're going to pay it back or if you're just looking for philanthropic funds to give you subsidies. There are subsidies in every country, maybe not in New Zealand, but I can tell you for sure all across the planet right now, we're seeing subsidization of infrastructure because it's so hard to get some of that startup funding. The other thing that Ritu and I were talking about earlier today was time. A lot of people who are traditional investors and other types of things don't understand time well when it comes to building networks. And what I mean by that is it can take a long time to build a network, to have a negotiation about land rights, which you would obviously know way more about than we do. But some of the folks that I worked with last year, for example, it takes 8 to 9 months just to negotiate something called pole rates, AKA where your wires can go on a pole, literally a telephone pole, where you can, in certain tribal communities in the United States and other places that I know about, it's certainly very time consuming because you must observe some of the tribal traditions, and you've got to make sure that you're not siting towers in places just because you think it's a good place to site the tower. You've got to work with those local communities. But on the financing and sustainability side, again, you've got to think about how long it's going to take to do what you need to do from the construction perspective, negotiation perspective, and financing. There's an art to it, and quite a few people out there now are looking at how do we make this a lot simpler. The report that I put the link to can help with that. There are different business models to look at. Sorry for taking so much time there.
Thank you so much. And I think time is running out, but I would like to still bring into some of the perspective from India, that India also has a very diverse region of funding and getting the finances. It's very complicated, but it is also very, it's very mind boggling that you need to understand how you need to path your ways to get the sustainability. Different districts or a very small level of our local panchayats or a village councils, they do have a funding, but they are not sure that this funding will go in which sector, whether they can fund the community radio or the connectivity. So that's the where the connection comes also, that what are the funding resources which are available locally and how you can channelize them for the connectivity and for the other kind of a combination of rights, when we talk about the rights and the combination of connectivity as well. So especially from an India perspective, we have seen a different funds are available, and those funds are unused because of they are not sure how they will be utilized and how they can be utilized in that way. So there's a really requirement from a local level as well as from a policy level point of view to channelize this funding and resources and how these funding resources can be utilized. There's a largely need of to understand these jargons and understand these high terms on the fundraising and sustainability portion for these localized community networks, either or for these community radio stations as well, that how these we can simplify them. That's something which is I would like to close up with this session as well, but I would want that each panelist should give a last thought process on what exactly is the thought process that they would like to close this session as well, or a one recommendation point as well.
So I'll just add here, Ritu. What we are thinking that about the sustainability, I think radio is the platform we can have the one-stop shop here. We have everything. So those who are running the community radio, we can make it in one-stop shop like things. Like we can give the facility to through internet, they can come, they can do lot of works, and we have lot of community people involved with the community radio. So we can do the larger perspective of the anything we can do. So it's one thing I can say here, as a community radio, what I feel, we have all the infrastructure. We can make the one roof soft kind of things in community radio. It can be happen.
Babu and Sarbani, if you would like to give us some closing thoughts, because we are running out of the time as well.
Thank you, Ritu. Yes, we are running out of time. Just wanted to say, let's make our relevancy through the content, and when we bring very great contents, and then every platform we can sustain ourselves, and we can adjust with the situation. Thank you.
Yeah, I feel that the community radio stations and community networks can work side by side, and that was a very good example from the Maori community in New Zealand. We are too working over here on a certain project on restoring language of indigenous tribal people here. So the community radio stations and community networks can reside side by side, or they can work together in parallel in a particular location. And I think one supports the other. Whereas if it is, and both of them support offline networks also. So that's one of the major advantages of it. That both the radio station and the network can be an offline network, enabling services to the people as well as an online thing. Yeah, that's.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, the floor as well, those who have put up the questions and the thoughts. Thanks, Carlos, and thanks the one who has mentioned the wonderful story about the Maori community in New Zealand.
Thank you everyone for coming to this very enriching session on community radios. Please remember to put in all the highlights of the session to our platform, comment.aprigf.asia. We need you to shape our synthesis document, so all this really good discussion we've had, please, please, please put it in. For everybody joining us online and also all our lovely online speakers, thank you very much. Please enjoy your lunch in this on site, and then up next we have the closing plenary in plenary hall P1, and this would be, let me just double check, and it will be at 1:30. So please enjoy your lunch. Thank you.